Welcome to Witch Hunt, the podcast bringing you news about today's witch hunts. I'm Josh Hutchinson.
And I'm Sarah Jack. We are pleased to welcome Neelesh Singh, expert social inclusion and gender integrator with India's National Mission Management Unit. He has spent decades working in India's social development sector.
My name is Neelesh, and I'm working for a government scheme and centrally sponsored scheme called National Rural Livelihood Mission. It was like in 2016 that I got this opportunity to work on gender issues, to initiate my work on gender issues with an issue which was burning there called witch hunting. So we are now working on the entire gender-based violence for their aspects of prevention and for the risk mitigation and for redressal mechanism. And so everything we are trying to now work it, and we are still growing.
Does gender-based violence affect all ages of women?
There is a saying here, from the womb to tomb. It affects from when you are yet to born, and it goes on until the tomb. We have got like range of violence for different kind of age group which runs across it. So yeah, for every age group.
You mentioned that the gender violence is a little different in every state, or it presents itself in its own way.
Many of the places, the issues are like the state where I belong to, they have got witch hunting as one of the priority issue, and then human trafficking is there. Domestic violence is almost there in almost every state is reporting against domestic violence. The issues like child marriage are quite prevalent. And I can see wherever the incidence of poverty is high, you will find the incidence also of child marriages and such things are also high. And then we have got issues like dowry, that here actually in India, we have this practice for the marriage. One thing that we have in common under NRLM is that we form women-based groups. We call self-help groups here. We try to keep this in our base, that we need to build our strategy on these women collectives. So we promote women collectives, to plan women collectives, to take action against it. And we try to sensitize these women collectives against this. Because even though this is women collective, that doesn't mean that everybody will be very sensitive to the women issue, because they are from the same society. It takes some time, and it takes time to understand what kind of system is existing there. How are they driver of the patriarchy and all those things? And by understanding all those things, by assessing the kind of gender sensitivity that they have, we have to plan their sensitization, their awareness, and their capacity building and all those things. And that's how strategy is built upon. So there are several strategy. While we might have human trafficking there in most of the states, but our strategy might be very different in different part of the state, depending upon the different characteristics and resources. Yeah.
In your messages with us before the interview, you talked about the importance of collective action by women's collectives. What kind of action do you mean by that?
Now, let me give you the example of incidents of witch hunting and witch branding. The foremost incident that I came across, there was a member of our own women collective. She was branded as witch by different people. And eventually what happens, her own collective, her own self-help groups, the people who have come together to help each other, they also started calling her witch. And eventually what happened, her husband's big brother, elder brother, and his wife, both of them, they once decided to kill that lady, and they came with axe in her hand, and then they tried to attack her, and somehow she escaped from that house, but that didn't stop them to chase her and pull her down and all those things. But somehow she could save her life, but she couldn't save her house and her grains and all those things. Everything was put on fire. I raised this question to the collective, that while she was being branded, while she was being chased down by somebody, while somebody attempted to kill her, why is that she was a member of your own group? Why did any of you came forward to help her? So they also said that because she's a witch, so killing a witch is It's like saving everybody else. Otherwise, he would have killed all of us. So it's like a good thing. So that made us think again that unless until everyone is sensitized towards it, there's nothing we can do again, because police also couldn't take much action because nobody was ready to give any witness. No evidence was there. Even if some people wanted to support her, they were also would have been killed eventually, because it is very hard to go against the entire crowd. You won't have that much of voice and that much of courage also. They would kill that woman in front of everyone. You cannot intervene at the time when people have started taking out their weapon and want to kill that person. At that time, it's very difficult to intervene. But you can start intervening right from the beginning. You can start recognizing who are the person who believe in rationality, who are the person who believe that this violence is against only women. It is not against any man also. Because all the cases that we have, I think more than 95% were women only. And all those 5% male people who have been killed in the name of which they were only supporter to that lady. So this is a weapon which man folks are using against their women to take control of the women and all. We had to build up this, and we wanted that this discussion should start happening in our group, because our self-help groups was not limited only for helping each other during the economic crisis. These are also the things where they can discuss all those things in their groups. These poor, the only strength that they have, they don't have money, they don't have much resources with them. But the thing that they have is their collectiveness, their numbers. They're such a high number. And we are organizing them. Making them organize is, I think, we are hoping that this will give it strength to them against such a horrendous crime. The experience has taught us that first they will brand somebody as witch, and after that only, maybe after some period of, after some years, after some months, or maybe after some decades, they will kill them. So they cannot kill anybody before they brand her as witch. So first they need to brand her witch, then they need to convince everybody that she's witch, and then only this killing will happen or public lynching will happen. We covered 40 villages of one block before we called for public hearing. So 65 lady were identified as witch, who have been branded as witch, and they were living a very pathetic life in their own village. And this was the first time we were interacting with such women. And we called of all these women to a place here in a city. And it was a luxurious hotel. And we kept this workshop for 3 days there. And we had called our several partners who were champion in working on the gender-based violence. And we also had several trainers along with us. And when we were there in that hotel, anything that we would ask them, we will ask, what is their name? They would take so much of time to speak out their name. And their tears were not stopping and they were just crying. And I think by the lunch, they said that this is the first time that after such a long period of, somebody was saying 10 years or 20 years, that somebody was interacting with them and that they are getting such a good food. And so many people are giving respect to them. They're talking to her, all those things. And this was, we got moved by their gestures, by their tears and everything. That's where we got to know that just saving their life is not enough. They also need to live their life, and they need to live their life very normally. We need to normalize all those things, and they need to come out from that fear. So that time we thought that some counseling would be okay for them. So we did organize for some counseling, but after that we thought that there has to be some way in which we can continuously engage with them. So one thing which occurred to all of us was, let us give them training on theater and make them as part of our theater group. And they can go to different villages and aware people against witch hunting. And because they can share their own story, and that will be real story. And they can influence people like them. They can understand their pain very well. And we have seen that just giving them, like the trainer who used to give training on theater, when he saw entire participants, all of them were like above the age of 70s. That was a challenge for him. He has never taught such elderly people on theater. But that was just like 6 day training, 6 day residential training. But that slowly he understood the power that they had. And this 6 days when they were staying together and they were discussing about all those things, it gave them so much of space for sharing their story and learning from them and opening up and all those things. And when they became the part of the theater group, when they learn from different people and when they able to saw that there are so many, they also can make friends. There are people who also support them. There are people who enjoy talking to them or being with them, who can share their food with them, or they can eat from the same plate in which he is eating, and they can sleep in the same room in which she is sleeping. So it was like it was a moment for them. It was like giving their life back. And theater had this power to heal all those things and to give them the voice. We saw this power in theater. That's where people said that theater and music, everybody, everything, all these things, power of healing also. They can heal the pain which is there inside you. They can give you voice. In one of the village, I think it was around 60-year-old lady. She was called as witch by other women of that village and also male people of that village. And all of them, they stripped this woman naked in front of the village. And then they applied some black color on her face and made her parade around the village and all those things. It was in the full daylight. And her son was such helpless. He wanted to help his mother, but couldn't do that. And his friend stopped him from doing such thing. This collective of 21 village, they took the decision to felicitate that lady and to show their support towards that lady. And they took out rally from each of their village and they brought the clothes and money and some food grains and some flour and everything. And then they felicitated that lady in front of every villager and they showered her with the food or in the clothes. They said that since your clothes was stripped by these people, so every village is offering you these clothes now to you. And this is to honor you and to support you and to give this message to all the villagers here that nothing will ever happen to you and nothing will ever happen to any of the person here. And we all collectives are here like to support everyone. From now on, if anyone tries to call anyone as witch, then we will take action against that person. We'll take that person behind the bar with the help of police and everything. And this was almost for the first time that people were showing support to anybody called witch. Before that, they had never seen anyone supporting witch such openly in such an open forum. And here it was like people coming from every corner of the villages and they're rallying against that incident. And then it was reported in media, it was reported in TV and newspapers. And so everybody was talking about such support. So that gave strength to them. And they wanted their chief minister, the head of the state, to give this statement that he won't tolerate this malpractice of witch branding and witch hunting. And he vows to make the state free from witch branding and witch hunting. They wanted the chief minister to give out this statement. So that incident of one particular village sparked the other collective of living in different parts of that state for carrying out a signature campaign against. This signature was taking the signature of every officials also, and then they shared, I think more than 50,000 signature was shared with the chief minister, asking him to give this statement. And then he gave this statement and also asked the department to work against witch hunting and witch branding practices and make this state free from this. Share with me the strategy that you have for this. So it was very encouraging for our women.
Thank you for listening to Witch Hunt. Have a great today and a beautiful tomorrow.